Deuteronomy 24. This is a section all about divorce for like 4 lines. And then it's just a giant collection of random, crazy other laws. As if every recent chapter wasn't already doing that. You know how the amendments to the US Constitution start out with freedom of speech and religion, and eventually become things like no alcohol and no raises for members of Congress today, and things like that? That's this chapter. If a man marries a woman who becomes displeasing to him because he finds something indecent about her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her, and sends her from his house, and if after she leaves his house she becomes the wife of another man, and her second husband dislikes her and writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her, and sends her from his house, or if he dies, then her first husband, who divorced her, is not allowed to marry her again after she has been defiled. That would be detestable in the eyes of the Lord. Do not bring sin upon the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. Well, that was hyper-specific. Do you ever get the feeling that the Bible was written by one angry single dad who just really hated his first wife? Because this rule says if he divorces her because she's evil, probably because she's a harlot, and then she finds a new guy, but then that guy finds out she's not a virgin, which you would think he would have assumed because of the whole second husband thing, God says she can't go back to the first guy. He's not allowed to remarry her because she had sex with the second guy. She wasn't a virgin anymore, but we're still holding her sex life over her head. Even though the second guy she married would probably have said she was defiled after marrying the first guy. But she'll just have to find a new guy now, or wallow in misery until she dies, which I'm sure is really the whole point. What indecent thing did the husband find out that led to the divorce? Was it that she's not a virgin? Or did she vote for a Democrat? Or was it something superficial, like he noticed she had a zit? It's probably something petty, right? So much for everlasting love. This marriage barely lasted a week. And it shows why couples should be intimate before their wedding day. Look at all the chaos that can happen if you decide to wait until after the wedding before getting it on. Did you notice that there's a certificate of divorce now? When did we develop the printing press? I must have missed that chapter. We've moved on from just kicking a woman out of your house. There's paperwork involved now. Anyway, that's the divorce bit. Now we move on to the other rules, which are all over the place. If a man has recently married, he must not be sent to war or have any other duty laid on him. For 1 year, he is to be free to stay at home and bring happiness to the wife he has married. Well, if it's like the previous couple, then I'm sure the wife would be happier if the husband went to war. How is he supposed to bring happiness to her? Is it sex? I mean, it doesn't say that, but if that's what we're talking about, the Bible should really just say so. Don't be shy. This sounds like a great loophole for draft dodgers. You want me to go to war? Hey, you, woman! We're getting married now. Sorry, I need a year off. Couldn't you just get married, stay at home for a year, hand your wife a certificate of divorce in December, remarry in a couple of weeks, and then just do it all again? Loophole! I would be such a good Bible character. Do not take a pair of millstones, not even the upper one, as security for a debt, because that would be taking a person's livelihood as security. Millstones are like 2 giant discs that grind grain. Basically, this rule says if someone owes you money, don't take those wheels, even one of them, as collateral, because how else is this guy gonna make a living? It's like taking someone's car because they owe you money. That person can't get to work now, so how did you help the situation? And you know what? Good point. That is also an argument for a universal basic income, because when people don't have to worry about paying for a home or food or healthcare, they can focus on being productive in other ways, including making money. But that would be a form of socialism. And you know who hates socialism? Evangelical Christians. If someone is caught kidnapping a fellow Israelite, and treating or selling them as a slave, the kidnapper must die. You must purge the evil from among you. Well, that got intense quickly. Kidnapping gets the death penalty. Got it. But that only seems to apply if you kidnap someone and sell them into slavery. If you just kidnap them and keep them in your basement, I think it's okay, according to the Bible. So I'm safe. In cases of defiling skin diseases, be very careful to do exactly as the Levitical priests instruct you. You must follow carefully what I have commanded them. Remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam along the way after you came out of Egypt. Oh, I remember Miriam. In Numbers 12, God gave her leprosy because she pointed out that her brother Moses has married an Egyptian woman. And God hates that, if you know what I mean. But God loves Moses, so Miriam had to be punished. But what does that have to do with the healing process? God is saying to follow the Levitical priests when it comes to curing the diseases, and then he just threatens everyone by name-checking someone who got a disease. Why? If they criticize God, will they also suffer? When you make a loan of any kind to your neighbor, do not go into their house to get what is offered to you as a pledge. Stay outside and let the neighbor to whom you are making the loan bring the pledge out to you. If the neighbor is poor, do not go to sleep with their pledge in your possession. Return their cloak by sunset so that your neighbor may sleep in it. Then they will thank you, and it will be regarded as a righteous act in the sight of the Lord your God. Aw, this is nice. If someone owes you a lawnmower, don't just go to their house and take something in exchange for it. Let them bring you something of equivalent value, like, I don't know, a child or a jacket? Unless they're poor, in which case you can totally take the jacket, as long as you return it at night. Which makes me wonder why you needed it during the day. Do not take advantage of a hired worker who is poor and needy, whether that worker is a fellow Israelite or a foreigner residing in one of your towns. Pay them their wages each day before sunset, because they are poor and are counting on it. Otherwise, they may cry to the Lord against you, and you will be guilty of sin. This is also good. Don't screw over your hired staff. Pay them a fair wage before they unionize or tattle. Notice that it doesn't say pay Israelites and foreigners the same, only that you shouldn't take advantage of them. I feel like that definition will change depending on which group is being referenced. Parents are not to be put to death for their children, nor children put to death for their parents. Each will die for their own sin. Good. Very good. Punish the person who did the crime, not their immediate family members. How was this not a rule already? Makes sense though. No one should die for someone else's sin. Unless you're the one dude who's the main character in this entire book. And I believe all of humanity, who I believe was sentenced to die because of what Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden. So no, we are not dying for our own sins. All of Christianity is based around the idea of people dying because of what some other people did. Do not deprive the foreigner or the fatherless of justice, or take the cloak of the widow as a pledge. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you from there. That is why I command you to do this. Yes, no cash bail, no unfair justice system, no hurting the poor. I could totally get behind this. This passage even doubles down on not taking a cloak. A few lines ago, it was okay to take the cloak for a day as long as you returned it by night, but now you can't take that at all because it's a widow's and not just a poor person's. Look, if the chapter ends right here, I think we finally have a positive ending. When you are harvesting in your field and you overlook a sheaf, do not get back to it. Leave it for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. When you beat the olives from your trees, do not go over the branches a second time. Leave what remains for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow. When you harvest the grapes in your vineyard, do not go over the vines again. Leave what remains for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt. That is why I command you to do this." You knew this was coming. When you're farming or picking fruit, you get one pass. That's it. Collect what you can. Because all the crap that's left behind, those crumbs are for the peasants. God gets the first bit, you get to keep the next bit. Brown people and women get the last bit. Browner, technically speaking. Once again, this random collection of rules only makes everything worse. There is no organization anymore to any of this. It's just tossing in anything the Bible's writers can think of in no particular order. There's no priority list. It's just mass chaos all the time. But you gotta admit, it's more interesting than most of the chapters so far.